reinstall it.
Yeah, that's another.
Of course, if you break Portage or you break a merge,
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
But the whole Gentoo philosophy is really to expose as much of the system to the user. So in other words, to give you plenty of rope with which to either mess with the cows or hang yourself. So you can do anything, and you know, just like with a chainsaw, that can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending what you're using it for. So.
Okay. Now, time to get a little bit more dirty. Let's look under the hood. If we just look at the file structure, I'm not going to go all over, but just where to find files in a usual Gentoo Linux system. And this means that this part is specifically for if you use it on Gentoo Linux. If you use it on a Mac, it's somewhere else, and I have never owned a Mac, so I would have no idea where to look. But usually you will find, in user Portage, you will find the official package tree, including profiles and other stuff. But basically this is the official Gentoo metadata, and you can synchronize this whenever you want with online servers using rsync. So basically you download all the meta information on your own machine whenever you synchronize the tree. Of course this is only possible because it is only metadata and not all the source code also.
And that's just a switch to the emerge command. It's emerge -- sync. And that is something that you can have in your cron tab completely safely. I run that every night to make sure I have a fresh Portage tree. Now I don't want to install the packages from that fresh Portage tree automatically, but so that's completely safe. Do that often.
It simply means that you update what Portage knows about existing evils, nothing more. You will find that everything lies in a nice, just in the file structure. So categories are just directories, and then you have subdirectories in these category directories, which are for each piece of software, and in these directories the e-builds themselves are. So it also means that if you're curious about what an e-build does, you just go down to the right directory and open up the file in your favorite editor and read what it does. More interesting, you also have in this structure, the user Portage profiles, you have all the profile information. For most people, they don't want to mess around too much down there because profiles are made by people who know what they're doing, which does not include not even normal developers. But you can find useful information there. So look but don't touch.
Yeah, and Portage will notice when there's a new profile that you should be using, and it'll tell you about it. It'll tell you how to switch to it safely.
Yeah.
But Martin's absolutely right. I mean, the developers who build profiles are like 3 guys. And of all the hundreds of Gentoo developers, so.
Another interesting directory is the e-class subdirectory, which contains all the e-classes. Again, I will come back to what that is, but basically it's files with reusable code, and you can find it there. Again, if you want to know what something does, go in and read. The system-wide configuration file, basically there are two, but one of them is actually only a symlink. Make.conf contains the system-wide configuration for Portage. This is where you specify your compiler flags. This is where you specify which system-wide use flags you want to set or unset. You specify how Portage should behave. You can even specify to put the whole port tree somewhere else. It's where you find all configuration stuff. You also have an etc profile, make.profile, which is just a symlink into one of the profiles here. So upgrading from one profile to another means changing the symlink and then asking Portage to handle whatever changes that has been. That is that easy to upgrade from one version of Gentoo to another. And then you also have etc Portage, where you can have several different files containing per package configuration. So you have a system-wide configuration which covers everything except what you override in the package configuration files. I think there is some new files that does stuff that I haven't looked into, but the most important thing is you can mask or unmask ebuilds. Means that even ebuild is for some reason masked, you can unmask it, say, hey, I want to use it anyway. But you can also go the other way and say, oh shit, here's an ebuild that everyone else considers stable, but it breaks my system, so I want to mask it. I will never, ever, ever see it in my system. Very useful if you have a production environment. You can also specify that you want to allow certain unstable ebuilds, and you can override use flags. In both ways, setting and unsetting.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Since we're at slide 10 of 27,
Yeah.
time-wise, if we can maybe just try to keep questions to only pressing questions and just speed up a little bit.
Okay,
Is all.
sure. Some of the slides are quicker. So anyway, now it comes to, we have to know a little about what's going on during the installation phase or uninstallation phase of Portage before we can actually go on and make our own ebuilds. Basically, when Portage installs something, it does it in these different stages. The first thing that is executed is the fetch stage, which basically means that Portage will go in, read the ebuild, and in the ebuild you specify where the hell you're going to find whatever you need for building or just installing the software, and it will fetch it. The ebuild might also specify that Portage cannot fetch this automatically. The user has to do something manually outside. This is, for instance, the case with Sun's version of Java. Yeah.
Real player.
Real player is another. Yeah. Whenever it has fetched something, it is put in a temporary directory, and it is checked with, at the moment, MP5 checksums. It also means that if something is already there, it will not re-download it. Then it will unpack the source. And again, remember the source just means whatever you need. And it's unpacked into a temporary directory, which for the rest of this is called the sandbox. Basically what Portage does, it prepares the software in a sandbox, which is actually created in such a way that to protect, it's not really security, but to protect the developer, it will only allow you to make changes in the sandbox. If you try to change any files outside of the file system, you will get an error. The ebuild itself can override this if it wants to, because the ebuild might need to change something outside. But the main idea, the main philosophy is that you want to prepare everything on beforehand in the sandbox, and then let Portage merge it into your live file system. And we'll see why this is important. Then you have the compile phase. These stages are, I use phase or stage, it means the same. And the compile stage, these stages are named because it is mostly for compiling software yourself. You can put whatever you want in these stages, basically. Then you, after compiling it, you install it into an image directory. Basically, you build the whole, it builds the whole file structure as it should appear in the live file system in this directory. And this is done because whenever the install phase